even sitting down to eat a meal can be difficult as a type 1 diabetic. And nutrition plays such a big factor in managing this disease. And I remember when I was recently diagnosed, I had to relearn how to eat because I was just so overwhelmed when I would sit down to eat a plate of food and I wouldn't know what to do. I would sit down and count how many carbs that I had, and I would plug everything into my calculator, 15 grams of carb per 1 unit of insulin. And then I would do it, and then I would like recount it again. And I realized 2 hours later that my blood sugar levels were all over the place. So in this video, I want to give you some tips and strategies that actually help me uh, overcome fear of eating, the anxiety that comes with eating, and how I learned to build a healthier relationship with food. So make sure you watch to the end. I promise you're going to get some good feedback. It's good insight over eating, nutrition as a type 1 diabetic. If you don't know me, my name is Santise. I am a type 1 diabetic myself, and I help people living with type 1 diabetes master control over their blood sugar levels, improve their A1C so they reach a healthy, normal, non-diabetic A1C, and also feel confident in themselves. And nutrition is a big part of my programs and what I help people do. So I want to give you some insight here that's going to really be a game changer for you. If you haven't yet, make sure you subscribe so you can see more of these types of videos. And also, if you like these types of video, make sure you comment. So let's jump into it. Now, I remember when I was recently diagnosed, my doctor's strategy was 15 grams of carbs per 1 unit of insulin. So I would sit down in front of a meal and I would count every single carb. I would weigh everything out, and it still didn't work. I would and I would recount everything, and I would get frustrated. Like, I did that right. Like, why is my blood sugar level above 200 right now? And it started giving me a ton of anxiety. And I went back to my doctor and I said, this is not working. And they changed my ratios, and they're like, okay, try this ratio. And then didn't work. And I would keep on going back, and I just didn't get proper advice. And when I would ask them, they'll kind of give me generic answers in a runaround. And that led me to digging deeper and asking questions in the type 1 diabetic community. I remember going on Reddit forums and I would say, hey, like, I'm doing this and it's not working. And then someone recommended me to read a book called Diabetes Solution by Dr. Bernstein. Very good book. If you haven't read it, it's like the Bible of diabetes, in my opinion. So in that book, Dr. Bernstein's method, by the way, he's a type 1 diabetic who's been living with type 1 for over 70 years, something like that. And he's in his 80s, and his A1Cs are like in the fours. It's crazy. He's really good at managing. And his method to managing is going low carb, high protein. And specifically, he says, limit your mornings to only 6 grams of carbs, limit your lunch to only 12 grams of carbs, and limit your dinner time to only 12 grams of carbs. So it's a 6, 12, 12. And I gave his method a shot, and I'll tell you, it helped a lot. And the reason why it helped a lot, because he talks about something called the law of small numbers. Less carbs, you inject less insulin, and there's less room for errors. And it's true. Carbs are the biggest factors that are going to make your blood sugar levels fluctuate. So this method actually helped me not have so much fear of eating, because I knew if I would just eat lower carb, I would give myself less insulin, and it took away a ton of anxiety. And I found my blood sugar levels staying pretty stable for long periods of time. I was also in a honeymoon phase in that moment when I started doing his diet. So I was actually able to just eat a low carb meal and not have to give myself any insulin for it. Then after the years, unfortunately, my pancreas completely died off and I stopped producing insulin, and I started having to give myself insulin for protein. So I can eat a 0 carb meal and I would still need around 2 units for protein. But this method of eating, this way of eating, just helped me feel a lot more normal, and it took away a lot of anxiety. And I recommend that for you. If you're struggling with a lot of fluctuations, try this. And I'm not saying that you'll never eat a carb again, but just try this. Try limiting the amount of carbs that you eat. And I was very strict with it. I did I went like full blown low carb, high protein, kind of keto-ish diet for like 4 years. And it really helped. It really gave me a sense of control, sense of stability. Now, over the years, I started actually including and bringing carbs into my diet. So on the weekends, I eat French fries, or I eat some cauliflower crust pizza, or I eat a little bit of bread, and I don't go too crazy with it because it just makes the management harder. But I do indulge a little bit, and the way I was able to do that is by tracking meals. So my next advice to you is track every meal that you eat, and also how much insulin you take and what happens 2 hours later. So that is going to teach you exactly how much insulin you need. If you track that meal 10 times, for example, if I'm eating French fries with a burger with no bun, and I track that meal, the first time I might not get it, the second time I might not get it, the third time I might not get it. But by the 10th time I track that meal, I promise I'm going to know exactly how that meal affects my blood sugar levels. And it's the consistency of understanding your patterns what's going to help. So those two things help me uh, a ton with my diabetes management. My A1Cs have been below a 6 for the past 6 years now. And it's just learning how to eat, relearning how to eat, made me feel more confident in myself, and made me feel like I could enjoy life again. Because no one should sit in front of a plate of food and spend 30 minutes trying to figure out. It just comes with a ton of anxiety, and it also builds a horrible relationship with food. So to recap, number one, if you're struggling with a lot of fear and a lot of fluctuations, go low carb, diminish the amount of carbs you eat. I promise it's going to make a world of difference. Go high on protein. Protein is very important. So you're strong. Protein is the most important macronutrient, in my opinion. And then as you get more stability, introduce more carbs into your diet, but go slow. Don't start eating a ton of carbs, because it's just going to make your diabetes management a lot difficult. And I promise that if you follow those two things, it's going to work. Now, the key is to build a good relationship with food. A lot of times people say, oh, well, when you go on these low carb diets, it's restrictive. And I understand, but I think my life was filled with anxiety and feeling overwhelmed every time I ate, that going on these low carb diet, high protein actually helped me not feel that anxiety, and it build a better relationship with food. I don't have a bad relationship with food. I just made a nutrition system that works for me. And like I said, it's your job to figure this out and make it easier for yourself. Going low carb, high protein is like training wheels, riding a bike with training wheels. And then once you gain stability and more knowledge, then you can add more carbs. I think that's the best way. And when you do add the carbs, make sure you track the meals that you're eating. And the more you track, the more understanding you're going to have over how to manage those meals. So if you watch this video till the end, I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure you smash that like button and comment below if you have any tips, or if you found this helpful. I'm interested to read all your comments, and hope this helped, and I'll see you on the next one.